Hey, all today Tech Channel, and I'm going to touch into the fundamental differences between a stack and a heap, uh, specifically when it comes to C# programming, but it does have implications in other languages for sure. Um, this is something that I decided to review because it's one of those concepts where it's easy to forget what it is, what it's doing, why are things the way they are in C#, okay? Now, there's two different types of variables, simple variables and non-simple variables, or they'll call them reference variables. And the whole idea is the stack is like a stack of plates. Every time you create an object and start referencing it, what happens is it'll take your integers and your decimal numbers and lay them as you initialize them, it'll put them on the stack for you, okay? And the idea behind the stack is it's designed to be quick, fast, small for each one, and it just works. But now, when you get it, let's say you want to put a string on into the or declare a string, or you want to declare a specific object. What happens is those are called non-simple or reference types. And what happens is the stack is still used. What happens is because it could be a much larger value, you can fill the stack up very quickly if you throw these big values into the stack. It's not really intuitive anymore. It'll slow down the responsiveness of the stack. So they have something called the heap. It's just like a big bin of memory that's allocated to your program. And what happens is a pointer to the memory that, let's say you create a string, the pointer will point to the memory allocation in the heap to actually tell you what the value is of that string. Now, we don't really see it with strings, but you do see it with objects. When it comes to when you're referencing them, when you're working with them, it can be a little difficult. Like strings are kind of a hybrid, but they are still a reference type, and that's important to understand. Let's just take a quick look here and look at the differences here. So right now I have a very simple DOS-based program. The idea, what's really cool is in Visual Studio, you can create a DOS program. So it gets rid of all the other minutiae. You don't have to build an interface. You just see what's going on. So here you'll see I've just created an integer. I've called it A. And A is equal to 2. I've just initialized it right away. And then I do a console write line, which is what is the value? The value of A is. And then I just put a read key in here just to kind of hold the screen. Okay, so let's run this here quickly. And I'm pretty sure you're going to know what you're going to get pretty quickly here. I'm just going to crack the window here. And the value of A is 2, and that's what it should be. Now, what happens if I go in here and I say, I'm going to create a new integer. I'm going to call it B, and I'm going to make it equal to A. Okay, so I've initialized it at the same time. And so the value of A is, and just to save a little bit of time here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to plunk a few of these down in here like this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say the value of B is B. We're going to take a look at the value. And then I'm going to say A is now equal to 3. Okay. Now the value of A is, and then we're going to look at the value of B again without changing the value. So let's just take a look here. I'm just going to actually put a line in here just for complete, understandability. We've changed the value of A to 3. I think that's what made it. Yeah, 3. Okay, so let's run this now. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, so what happens is the value of A is 2. The value of B is 2. We've changed the value of A to 3. The value of A is 3. The value of, I didn't fix that. The value of B, just so it reads properly. The value of B is 2. So what's happened is, because this is a simple variable, when I initialize the value of B, it copies the value from the stack into B. So we have two values, the value of A, the value of B, sitting in the stack. And they're independent, even though I copied one from the other. Well, let's just change things up a little bit here. Let's say I'm going to create an object, which is a reference type. It's a non-simple. So I'm going to create a very simple instantiation here of, or a declaration of the object we'll call person. And person has a first name and person has a last name. Okay, and they're both strings. Now let's go in here and we're going to say person Mike equals new person. And just to speed things up, I'm actually going to declare those values for Mike right away. So I'm going to say first name is Mike. Last name is Jones. Okay, so there we go. Got that fixed. I'll put my closing semicolon there, and we've got it. So what happens is, just to make this simple, and I'm just going to say, actually, let me drop this down to a lowercase so we kind of follow proper naming. Mike dot first name plus last name. Okay, so there we go. We've got those values in there. Now I am going to turn right around and I'm going to create a second person at the same time. I'm going to say person Sally is equal to Mike. I'm going to declare Mike, or actually no, I'm going to definitely declare this right up front. So I'm going to grab this piece of text here. We'll declare this in full because I want to show you the fullness of this, what this is. So I'm going to say Sally Smith. Okay. I'm going to grab this here. I'm going to plug this in here. Okay, so we should see with this here, if we run to the program, it'll say, the value of Mike is Mike Jones. And then the value of Sally is Sally Smith. And that's what we should see. Now, we've changed the value of Mike to Mike like Mitchell's. Okay. So down here, I'm going to say Mike dot last name, because we're just changing the last name, is equal to Mitchell's. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to add just a small step in here. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pop this down here just to hold it for now. What I'm going to do is we're going to change the value of Sally to Mike. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll grab these two here. Plug these in here. And to change the value, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Sally is equal to Mike. Okay. Because this is a reference type, what's happening is on the stack, I'm getting a memory pointer that's invisible to us as C# programs that looks at the value on the heap for these values here, the first name and last name. Okay. And when I change the value of Sally to Mike, I'm not changing the data inside of Sally. I'm changing the pointer that points to Sally in the heap to Mike. Okay, let's see what happens here. So the value of Sally, the value of Mike, let's just close those up. I'm just going to minimize that. I'm just going to highlight that now, and let's just run this and see what happens. Okay, as we predicted, the value of Mike is Mike Jones. The value of Sally is Sally Smith. We changed the value of Sally to Mike. The value of Mike is Mike Jones. The value of Sally is Mike Jones, as we should see. Now, let's remember, because these are reference values, if we change something inside of that value, because both of these, Sally and Mike, now have the same memory address, even though they got two different spots in the stack, they're pointing to the same memory address in the heap. Okay, we have to remember that. It's really important. So let's say we're going to change that down there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to print out these two values again, and this will illustrate that concept. Okay, and I'm going to say console right line, change the last name to Mitchell's. Okay, so let's run this again and see what happens. So we're looking at Mike and Sally. Okay, the value of Mike is Mike Jones. The value of Sally is Sally Smith. We've changed the value of Sally to Mike. The value of Mike is Mike Jones. The value of Sally is Mike Jones. Change the last name to Mitchell's. The value of Mike is Mike Mitchell's. The value of Sally is Mike Mitchell's. So again, we're pointing to the same reference on the heap. We can take this one step further, and this is where sometimes we can fall into a hole as object-oriented programmers. What we could do is we can say Sally dot last name is equal to Smith. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll add in a line. And once again, we'll display those two values. Okay, just to expedite things, I'm not going to run through all the lines, but what I'm going to do is look at the last couple of lines. Change the last name of Sally to Smith. And because they both reference the same memory location in the heap, we make a change to one, we also influence the other. The value of Mike is Mike Smith. Even though we changed Sally, we still changed Mike too. The value of Sally is Mike Smith. Very important to remember. And that's why reference types can add confusion. I was showing another video just recently talking about entity and talking about making one value equal to the new one. You got to pull the value from the database, make your changes, and then resave that value for entity to see it, the entity framework, which talks to your database. And I was at the 10,000 foot level, and I was like, I've always wondered why I just can't say, new value is old value is equal to new value. And I knew you couldn't do it, but I started thinking about it, thinking, why? And it struck me. Entity has a pointer to old value as a memory allocation, which is sitting in the heap. And when I said, and I changed that value that I pulled, what happened is I changed the value I'm working with to the value I created on the heap with a new memory address. So even though it looks like it's changed and everything's good, when you say save, nothing happens because entity doesn't see it because it's looking at its copy of that location on the heap. So something good to think about. So today we really looked quickly at the difference between the variables. There's lots of different variables in C# and Java, JavaScript, but today I was really touching in on the stack and the heap, and the difference between a simple variable as well as a reference type. So I hope that explains things a little bit better. There's lots of great videos on YouTube in regards to this, but I thought I'd just pop mine up. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you have a great day, and we'll see you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe and become a super subscriber by clicking the notification bell. Thanks a lot, guys.